Carlos Odio and KNAM for having us here and having this program. We began with Business Duo because Business Duo, we are a couple, we are a married couple that owns several businesses, and our family is part of it. So last week we talked about boss, I'm home, and my husband Ulises can give you a small recap of what happened last week, so that you can see a little bit of what we went through last week. It was pretty impactful. And this week, we are talking about family and business, like love and marriage, family and business. So go ahead, Ulises, if you can tell them a recap of last week.
Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes. Voy a comenzar por darles un super video y regresamos en unos 10 segunditos, ¿ok? Okay, bueno, we are back. Vanessa, how are you? How is everybody? We are back. Yeah, last week it was raw. And some of you guys got to see probably a new side of Vanessa and I, but that's what we're here for. It was the topic last week. It was um, it's even hard for me to say it. It was boss, I'm home, jefa, ya llegué a casa. It was we talk about the differences and how to keep aligning between working as a business couple. Unplug after 5 p.m. It is easier for some of us, for some others is very hard. Like Vanessa, she's one of them, 100%. But it was to me it was good. I had fun sharing my story, and we're here today with today we're talking about business in family. So it's a very touchy topic as well, and you will see why in a few seconds. So Vanessa, the Kainem family, thank you for having us again. It is our pleasure. So let's get to it, Vanessa.
Okay. So first, I will go over some recaps from last week. Some of this stuff the reason why it was pretty impactful is because in the middle of the interview, we realized also things that we needed to focus on and things that we needed to grow on. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of times you go to places presenting and you go to places teaching and saying, I'm the expert, I can do everything. But each time that you are doing something, and it's happened to me many times where I have, organized these presentations, I have organized these panels, and I always leave these places learning something. And even for me last week, even though it was Ulises and I doing this business duo, I got to learn some things. I got to learn things about myself, things about my expectations, and just certain things. So, with that said, it reminded me and it grounded me to the simple fact of never go into a classroom thinking you're the only expert. Never go into a presentation thinking you're the only expert. Never go into anything that you do thinking you're the only one, because we learn. I learned a lot. And so some of the things that was very impactful, it was some of the questions that were being asked. And what was so funny is the academy stopped for a whole hour. Everybody was so intrigued in what they were listening to. I got back and they're like, oh, we were having so much fun. We didn't want to stop. It was fun. So that made me feel good too, that everyone was enjoying it. But anyway, so today the topic is family and business, like love and marriage, love and marriage. So it's family and business. Um, we have a lot to tell you. Like with our family is in the business. And we could begin by recapping Ulises's background. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, Ulises?
Oh, this that you see back here. Yeah, I'm gonna move a little. In my daughter's boutique. She has she's 18. She is fixing to go to college. Está a punto de entrar a la universidad, and she recently started a business. Actually, one of them is she has her own organic cosmetic line. And what you guys are seeing back here, this is where she takes all of her pictures for her boutique. She sells clothing and that kind of stuff online. And Vanessa's always saying she makes money while she's asleep. Hace dinero mientras duerme. And I wanted to come here today because what we're talking about is family and business. So when you have family like us and you're in business, you're an entrepreneur. You have to pass this legacy. I think it's very important. You have to pass this legacy to your kids. Like Julexi, she's the one that does all these things in here. She wants to be an aerospace engineer. But especially mom is always telling her, okay, that's fine that you want to be an engineer. You want to build all these ships and whatever they do at NASA and all this kind of stuff. Work for companies like Boeing and making airplanes. But also think about having your own firm, your, because that's where we're heading, and we can talk about more in detail in another business and duo. But my point is, this is the legacy that I think we're building within our kids for them to have their own business, and we're doing the same with the little one. She's only 8, and she's fixing to start selling cakes, if I'm not mistaken. She loves painting, right? And she wants to create and paintings kind of stuff. We're families, all of us now, from mom, dad, and our 2 daughters. One of them being 18 and the other one being 8. They're already into this entrepreneurial world, and we are happy and proud of them. But it took actually for mom here to really uh, put that chip in their brains. And me, sometimes I try to be supportive and help as much as I can, or, giving tips, marketing, and that kind of stuff to them. So I'm proud of them actually.
Well, I can tell you as a little girl, this is all I grew up with. I grew up, my father owned a whole shopping center. He owned so many businesses. I mean, he still is a business owner, but he ran several businesses. And I can tell you that as a business owner's daughter, this is all I breathed, lived. We would travel, and my dad was very intentional with his with our vacations were actually business trips and vacations where he would, and we implement that as well. We take trips, and we take trips with the intention of seeing new things for the businesses, of meeting new people for the businesses, of different things. And this is what we try to do. We do it as a family, or we do it as a couple. And this has helped us out as well with in devouring more businesses and being successful and again growing every day. Even this being part of CAINEM came from a trip. We took a trip, and the founders, and we met them in Harvard, and from there, this relationship grew. A year and a half later, But this is what I'm talking about. You travel with your family, you travel with your spouse, and this also helps you. Now, if you're only doing work, that can be very irritating, and that has happened to me. So I implemented some of my father's teachings where, oh, let's take a trip, but we always had fun. We would go to Chicago, we would go to Texas, California, Mexico, different places, and I never knew that we were having business trips. But here I come with the mentality of a workaholic, and I began implementing these trips, but they were just business. That's all we would talk about. And we are learning now, when we unplug, we learn, we travel for business purposes, and we meet people, but we are not focusing on the businesses. We leave the businesses behind. We just focus on what's ahead of us in order to implement it. So this has been some of the stuff that I'm telling you, every day we grow. Every day coming here to you guys, we are coming as learners, listeners, and experts. Yes, but we can be all three. We don't have to just be experts. 10 years of living this way does not make us experts, because every day we are still, it does make us experts. But what I'm saying is, we also have room for knowledge, and we also have room to continue learning. But anyway, so we do take our trips this way, and we do try to do things. And one of the things Ulises said earlier, why do we do this? Number one, this is all I know. This is not what Ulises knew. Maybe, I'm not sure. If anytime, I know your uncles have had businesses, but you directly, your mom never had a business, right, Ulises?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I guess, was it difficult at first when you came with me, and when we were together and this whole thing was business? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience on that?
Coming into the entrepreneurial world from a big change. Um, I have another company. I mainly focus on bringing people together through events, cultural events, festivals, and that kind of thing. But being able to probably create a product, uh, like for example the academy that we're about to open soon, in like you've been telling me the doctrine for months now. That part is hard. It's hard when used to you're not used to it. I mean, your mentality obviously has to change, and there's people that have that within them, like naturally. Like if you ask me, of course, I would rather to do what I love doing, and I think everybody. Part of that transition from not knowing the ins and outs of being a business it takes to be one, and what it takes to become successful, and what you have to go through. Um, area, you know, scary because of the lack of knowledge. Like not because I didn't want it to, didn't I didn't have the opportunity, I guess, or the opportunity was never presented to me. But it was up to me, regardless of probably you opening doors and meeting other people, mentors and coaches and all that comes with it. At the end of the day, it was up to me to really take that opportunity and make something out of it. I've always said, I mean, you can study in places like Harvard, Georgetown, you can Madrid, I mean, all abroad. But if you don't put it's not like, to me, it's not about it if you have what it takes, because we do. We all have what it takes. Just we just don't develop it. Some others do. So at the end of the day, it's up to you to develop those skills within you to be successful or not. To really have that discipline. And you can be in a room sitting and having lunch with some of the brightest minds on earth, but it won't do anything to you if you don't allow yourself to to happen, and we were teaching fast track this week, what we the academy. And one of my things that I was telling the students, I mean, you always have to go somewhere, with an open mind and being able to listen. I mean, it's your time, just make it work. So my point is is you. Yes, having coaching, having all this mentorship, of course it helps, and that's probably 80% of this. But the other 20%, I guess that's you. Maybe my matrix is not correct. Maybe it's 50-50, or maybe it's 7-30. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it will happen because you want it to happen. Okay, because even when you have the best coaches again, people can just get, even you have the they can just get tired of you if you're not really doing what you're supposed to. So again, it's up to you. And yes, it was hard for me still, because I'm still learning, and I'm still working through the process, because the world is changing. This business world is in the changing stages every day. Pandemic, we see new tendencies, we see new course classes, new ways to for you to do business. So we're in the process of learning new things, even yourself. You've been all over the world, all these training courses, classes, and you can stop. And you know this, you of the company, you can stop. Imagine our kids that they're just starting, but the advantage of our kids is they have as mentors. They know we're there for them, and to help them and stuff. So yeah, that makes it a lot easier. But again, if they don't want to be successful, it's up to them.
Well, I agree and disagree with you because it depends on how you raise your kids and how much you invest in them that makes them successful. For example, if you notice with Jalexi, and I'm not saying that what her future is going to turn out to be, because I'm not God, but I can tell you that all the investment that we have put into her, and the same thing that we're putting into Sophia, it's going to come out at the end. Jalexi knows how to push herself. She's running Biz for Kids at 18 years old and has a structure which she taught us in the other parts of the academy. And that should tell you that's an 18-year-old that wants to be an engineer, but it's able to be versatile and flexible and fit into different situations. Because, as business owners, we must be versatile. We must be able to fit and be flexible in different situations. Because look what just happened with the pandemic. How many people have closed their businesses because they only knew one thing to do? But if you know more than one thing, and one door closes and you're ready for the other door to open, and if you fall, you know to get back up. It's okay to unpack every now and then, make do whatever you're going to do, throw your temper tantrum, but you have to get back up and continue forward. And this is something that we've been teaching the girls. And I know that you and I have different ways of raising. And that's every couple has different ways of raising the children, and we have to come together in some middle in order for us to continue moving forward. It has been difficult because you have one way of thinking, I have another way of thinking. And with Sophia, it's been a little bit, I feel like sometimes she's like this, like a seesaw, because the different ways that we have raising. And and with Jalexi, it's good. She's you've been in her life since she was 7 years old or 8 years old, and but you've seen the stuff that I guess traveling all over the world and doing different stuff stuff, and these are the same opportunities that Sophia is getting, or Sophia has the opening for, especially in the academy. When you let her, I'll tell you this, what I'm trying to say. Even me, I forgot to allow the child to be creative on her own. And Laurie, during the charcuteries, said, let her create it. And the part of me wanted to say no, because it's not going to turn out how we want it. And she said, okay, Vanessa, you
The
do it to
business
us.
part of you, right?
You give us the vision, and then you let us create. So I gave Sophia the vision. We told her what we wanted, and she made it happen. Sometime, and that's when I learned that I was not giving Sophia the credit she needed at that age. And this is why I've been able to, it's not easy because I'm so used to, I guess, babying her and making sure that she does. And I'm not just saying you, Ulises, because I mean, you can how can I say, you can, you know take account to what you want to in your situation. I'm taking account to what I know, that I was not allowing her to be creative. And she is a creative child, and she has a lot of creativity in her, but I was not giving her that opportunity. And as parents, we have to invest and give opportunities to our children, especially now in the business world. There are researches that show that our children, when they grow older, they're not going to have jobs. Jobs are going to be scarce. There's only going to be businesses. So we must teach them the mentality of a business owner now, today.
Exactly. Let me jump in here before I forget. Uh, you just confirm what I was telling you. Um, the advantage of our daughters, the advantage that they have of us being business owners is huge. Okay, it's huge. But again, to me particularly, it's been harder because I didn't have that growing up. Making sense. So yes, you're right. There's differences. There's this and there's that. But so far, both of them, thank God, they like business. Because I've also seen cases where mom and dad are very successful, and they can give their kids all the education, everything they have. They have it all, but it's are completely different. And please help me out on this one. You think it's because that's a lack of knowledge coming from their parents? Parents are not 100% in their children's lives, and really seeing what they're coming, how they're how they're educating their kids. Because business can hold you, can trap you from many things, even your family. You can forget your family over business sometimes, and you're not gonna let me lie. Occasions where we're like so busy, and lately we've been getting better at it, I think. Especially you. So please help me out, like, and for people, keeping that
I
balance.
couldn't.
Like, okay, I'm going up, but I'm bringing you with me.
Here's the thing. The thing is, I can tell you from my experience, where I feel that failure becomes part of a parent's success with their children, is I am a high believer. Instead of giving your children all the material things that you didn't have, give them stories, give them opportunities. See, I was lacking giving my daughter Sophia, because Julie, I've always given her the opportunity to go off and do what she needed to do. But Sophia, I guess because she was younger and what we went through, I was kind of hovering over her. And it's taken for Laurie to say, let her create. And this is an artist. So she's like, let her create, because they understand each other through the artist mentality. So, but I can tell you one of the things, it's very important to give your children stories. What do I mean by stories? Live it with them, do things with them. For example, how we do South Carolina Latina Project, and we let them be part of it. We let them be a part of the backstage, on stage, behind the scenes, all over the scenes. MECPA, they're in the scenes, out of the scenes, they're all over it. Inclusive today in the women's we're having a leading women's international women leaders of the year, where they are getting honored. Sophia's part of it. And see, and I'm going to say something. This is why it's very important that when children are, still children, that you take them to plays, you take them to places where they have to be made to behave. They are forced into behaving well, because if you don't, then they're missing opportunities to be amongst these kind of situations. So this is why it's important that while they're children, you teach them, if we're in an academy, we're in an academy. If we're at an opera, we're in an opera. I had the girls, and you know it very well. We put them in situations like operas, symphonies, theaters, being at backstage, being in all these business. We've always made them part of our businesses, and that has structured them to behave when there are certain situations. And this
Being under
is,
pressure,
to me,
right?
this
Like
is very important. Huh? Sorry.
being under pressure, I guess, especially the one that's Sophia, that's 8 years old. I mean, honestly, if you would have put me through what she's going through with us sometimes, whether it's representing, dancing, made a business plan, like she's, how she grabs her notes, and she makes her little notes and that kind of stuff. When I was her age, I was not, that was fine at all. I just wanted to be a kid. But again, you're right. It's how you're bringing up your kids. It depends. It is up to us as fathers, to plant that seed for success. And you're so right about that. So it's very, very, very important to put your family and your business together, not just you and I. And I think we've done very well with the girls, and hopefully these others that are watching, or they're also business couple, or you're a business owner. Try to especially if you're one of those parents that projects to inherit the business to your growing son or daughter. So let's start those kids at a very early age, and that's why I guess that's one of the reasons you have this program going on, Bits for the Academy. Am I right?
Yes, and I'll tell you something, and it's never too late, because we have people that we're around, other business owners who their children are just getting into it, and we're teaching them, because it's important. It's never too late. The children can learn to be a part of stuff. Now, I'll tell you something. I have been places where, like, let's say a restaurant, where the children are just sitting there on their pads because their parents own restaurants, or people who have certain, like, let's say certain kind of businesses, and they take the children, and the children are all over the houses, maybe cleaning business or anything where they have to go do something, and the kids are all over. See, this is what I'm saying. That's the difference. The structure is very important, because even, like, let's say if I had a cleaning business, I would make sure either my kids are attending because they're helping me, or they're being part of the process, but they're having something to do with the business. They can't just be there, because then that also ruins the relationship with your clients. But when they realize, for example, our daughters, they're a part of the process. They're a part of, hey, please, can you ring the doorbell? There's a doorbell ring. Hey, please, can you sign in here? Hey, they're part of the process, and they feel part of the process. And all children should be part of the process of what you're doing. They just need to get to that point, or you need to, and I feel confident with the girls. Even Sophia, when she was younger, I always felt confident taking her places because I knew that where she would sit, that's where she would stay. Although Sophia's a little bit more active than Talexi, but they both knew, the limits. They knew not to pass that. And I'm very honest, and you've heard me before saying,
Now,
girls, this is how these are our clients. This is very important. This is, let's get together. Let's work on this as a family. And they do it. But it's because we also have a lot of conversation with them about it.
now, do you structure as a business owner? In our case, that we have an 8-year-old, and this is for people that are watching that are going kind of like through the same. Do you start your kids from the bottom, or do you start your kids by telling them you own this place and you can pretty much have a say so in this place because you're my daughter and I'm the owner?
No,
Please
no,
help us out in that one.
no. And you have seen that. I mean, you have seen it how they have to clean too. They have to know what it's like to be from the bottom, because being humble is a trade and a virtue that you are born, or you either make it. But they're very, very important and essential uh, personality traits or virtues to have in your life. When you teach a child how to be humble from the beginning, they will succeed. That is one thing. My persistence and humbleness that have gotten me where I am at. And it's hard for people to be humble sometimes. I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. But I can tell you that's one thing that I have made sure. And I'm not saying that they do it all the time, because they are still children. One's a teenager and the other one's a child. But they know that that is one of our principles. And being humble and staying humble. And there's a difference between humble and humility. You don't allow anyone to humiliate you, but you do drop it down a notch to be humble enough to do what you need to. And even at the academy, everybody cleans. Even the 8-year-old. The 8-year-old has on Fridays is her day to clean. Why? Because she's seeing that it's important. You never start at the top. You start at the bottom and you go up. You can lose a lot of
That's
relationships
right.
starting at the top, thinking that, and everything that goes up can fall that easily. So that's why it's good to know the steps, how you got up, because the day you fall, you remember how to get back up.
Okay, now let me stop you there because you just said something very, very, I'm guilty of it as well. Uh, how do you prepare your kids for failure? Even being successful, if they see you're successful. I had and this is coming to my mind right now, not only because you said, but also one time I remember Sophia and me going to the store, uh, and she asked me for something, for all the time. And sometimes my escape is I don't have any cash with me. And she was like, "Oh, you have the credit card. Your credit card always has money. I see you buying stuff all the time." So how do you it's not like that you have to embed that fear in them, but it's more for them to be prepared for failure. How do you do that? Life
No,
wise and business wise.
here's the thing. You can't be afraid of failure, and you cannot be I don't tell the girls, hey, you may fail, hey, you may do this. No, even when, for example, before Jalexi opened the other college application, I mean the other college, that she made it into another prestigious college. They want her in there, and before she opened the letter, I said, remember one thing: if you make it in, it's because you're meant to be in. But if you don't, then you're not meant to be in it. But if you want to be in it, then you still have, as long as we are alive, we have time to do what we need to do to get you in there. As far as working harder, nothing comes easy in life. So I never said you're going to fail or be ready for failure, because you can't do that. That's living in a negative situation. You have to say, if you don't get in for some reason, it's not the end of the world, because you can get in. You just have to work harder. So I guess the answer is, you never tell them, be ready to fail, be ready to not have money. No, you tell them, do the best that you can through God, number one. Number two, or through whoever your high being is or your belief. Number two, make sure that you work hard for what you want. Nothing comes easy in life. And if it does, it's going to be that easy to get rid of. But when you work hard for something, you're a lot happier.
That was my question.
When you climb a mountain, I have climbed a mountain. I can tell you, it feels so good when you get to the top. But all that sweat, all that pain, all that agony to get to the top, it's worth the top. That's the same way with life. That's the same way with businesses. We could have everything we have today and tomorrow be taken away from us. But as long as we still have life, we get back up and continue working towards this, the new foundations, or, towards the same purpose, whatever it is that we're doing. So in reality, I guess the answer is work hard for what you want.
Exactly, but sometimes we tend to, and I'm not as much anymore, of making it a lot easier for them. And at some point lately, when, for example, Alexi comes up to me and asks me about her business, at first it was like, do this, do that, tips every day. But I saw she was getting to a certain level of comfortable, because she will come to us and we'll always have an answer for that. And I guess as parents, you have that, oh, that's my kid, I have to help my kids. But also, I think it's important for us to let them be on their own, so they can start doing things on their own. Don't you think?
I don't agree with you, because if I consult
Why?
everybody around
All the
me,
time, but
yeah, but if I consult everybody around me, of course my kids, I'm going to consult them always. If I want growth in everybody else around me, of course I want growth in my kids first too. So I can tell you that I'm never going to stop giving them tips, and I'm never going to stop, because at the end they have two options. They either take it and get to their next level, or they don't take it and suffer and then realize that it was correct. But or it may not be the correct thing, because we could give advice all we want to and consult people, but at the end it only they know what fits. We can guide them, but there may be some things that they may implement that do not fit 100%. So I don't agree with that. I feel that we should always give our children advice. See, those are things, to me, instead of giving the children material things, instead of giving them iPads, giving them all this stuff, I'd rather give them adventures. I rather give them knowledge. I rather give them things that they can do and that will help them for the rest of their lives. I rather give them, you know, experiences. A lot of children never get those experiences because the parents have the money and they say, "Oh, let me buy you everything so that you can leave me alone." And then the child grows up and of course is not as successful as the parents because all that was invested in that child were material things, not experiences, not knowledge. There were different investments there.
Hmm. I guess you didn't understand my question. It's not so much that in the way you just answer, and that's the logical thing and the logical thing to do as a but to me, is more of was very different where I had the support of so he realized points just said it. I mean, we can guide them, give them all this advice, but at the end of the day, the decision maker is me and the girls. But I guess my methodology is a little different. It's not like I will say no. I'm not gonna help you. I'm always telling them
Hey, yeah, I mean, you're right. And, you know, maybe I didn't understand what you were saying earlier, but one of the things I can tell you is that,
Now,
I, we can agree to disagree. And that's why we are business duo. And this is why we have a family and business. And that's why, we have all this stuff that we do because
because
we can agree to disagree.
I tell, especially Lexi, that she's and sometimes she would say, "No, it didn't work as good as I thought it would." Okay, own personality, own, you know, and and at the end, based on my advice, work.
Yeah, I think what is happening is that it's going in and out for some reason. I'm not being able to hear everything. Like right now, it's frozen. Oh, okay. So we want to thank you very much. And, as we said before, family and business, and having your family part of the business and the business part of your family. You just have to learn to be able to divide yourself. I guess, like divide the segments of your life, like spiritual, yourself, your business, your family, and at the same time be able to put it together, but have a time for everything. So these are some of the important things that need to be embedded in our heads and embedded in our hearts, our minds, our souls.
That kind
And with this,
of
we're going
stuff.
to continue moving forward and doing things. We love
Because
having
that's
our
what
family and our
she was
business together. Again, thank you very much.
A little bit more difficult. It's trying to separate her those iPods and all this. We don't really, you know. But yeah, I it's like and but yeah, I mean, to me, you're 50, but that you know,
Thank you. Bye.
and
Bye.